Okay, here we go. Last class we looked at the historical significance of the land of Israel and the spiritual significance of the land of Israel and the idea of aliyah, where that word comes from. Today I want to look at one question and then look at all the sources we have related to it. And the question is written on the board. Therefore, you shall write it in your notes. And the question is, why was the Torah given outside of Israel? That's the question we're going to look at today. Because, let's be honest, wouldn't it have been better had the Torah been given inside of Israel? Look at you, Yal. Look at you, you're all awake today.
Okay, I feel like no, because then we would know that we can only keep Torah on the file.
Okay, hold on, Yal. Very good, Yal. Very good. Shh. You're on fire today. I'm impressed. Good stuff. Okay, let's look at the question first of all, because the question is going to have more significance than the answer. There's going to be a few answers. But you're absolutely correct, Yal. Well remembered. So the Torah could have been given in the land of Israel. That would have been better, right? If the Torah, we said, is central to Judaism, that's what we're all about, and we already said that 53% of the mitzvot can only be kept in the land of Israel, wouldn't it have been more appropriate for the Torah to be given inside the land? However, it wasn't given inside the land, it was given outside of Eretz Yisrael in the Sinai desert. You may turn around and say, well, that's because the Jewish people sinned with the spies of the golden calf and weren't allowed into Israel. But I will say to you that that happened after. Right? The Torah originally, which preceded that event, was given outside of Israel. Which means giving the Torah outside of Israel was the end result. It was plan A. Plan B is that the Jewish people who lived in that generation weren't able to take it in. Their children would. Is this a fair question? Besides Yael, who we're going to hear from in a second, I'm sure, someone who's not heard this question before, would they like to suggest an answer? Is it a fair question? Do you understand the question? Does it make sense? If Israel is so important, and the Torah is so important, why was the Torah given inside Eretz Yisrael? There's many answers to this question. And every time I teach this course, I learn a new one from the students. Yes?
I feel like when they left Egypt, it's not going to just take them a day to get to Israel. And like, if they were just traveling in the desert with no purpose, like, why? It would just, I feel like they would just not really know what they're doing.
Okay, so if that's true, then take them directly into Eretz Yisrael. It's God. He can do whatever he wants. Ship them straight in. Whoop! Put them on Elul. You know what Elul stands for? Every landing, always late. Not anymore, they've got much better. I don't speak badly about the airline of Israel. You take the Jews, put them straight in, take them to the Mount Moriah. I mean, it's not, the base of Mikdash yet, because, King Solomon hadn't built it. But put them around the mountain, right? Everyone sings Hava Nagila, and give them the Torah. That could have happened right away. I mean, it's not much a childish question. But the answer to this question is going to be extremely important. Extremely. It's going to reveal a lot of information to us. Yeah?
I feel like it kind of shows that the survival of the nation is dependent on the country itself.
Wow, that's a big thing. You're hitting what Yael already touched upon. The survival of the nation, let's get a few answers. There's a few answers to this. Our survival as a nation is not dependent on the land. What does that mean? Please explain yourself.
Not like we independently serve Hashem and be like a coach.
So Celis, it's not like good tomorrow, had the Torah been given inside of Israel, what might you have thought?
That they needed Israel.
That you need Israel to receive the Torah. Is that such a crazy thought? No. Actually makes absolute perfect sense. Where exactly do you have to keep American law? In America. If you leave America, do you have to follow American law? No. You follow the law of the land that you reside in after leaving the land. If you live in America, and you can only drink until you're over 21, I'll say that again. If you live in America, you can only drink after the age of 21, and then you move to England, where you can drink after the age of 18, which is why we kind of like, time to reach 21 college, you're like, I'm done with it. Enough drinking, well, maybe not. Okay? The law is different. So you would have thought quite correctly that the law, i.e. the Torah, can only be kept in the land because that's where it's given. Therefore, the Torah had to be given outside the land of Israel. And what did that do? That showed us that the Torah and Israel, although Eretz Yisrael, as we're discussing last class and this class, we're going to see, is really important. And the Torah is mega, mega important. They are actually two separate realities. If you don't live in the land of Israel, are you able to learn Torah? Are you able to do the mitzvah? Now we saw the Ramban that says that may not be the optimal way, but you still can, and you're still meant to. Is that kind of what you were saying? What's your name again? Julia. Right? Kind of what you were saying, right? Thank you, Julia. Another answer.
I think that they needed a Torah in order to prepare for.
Oh, very, very nice.
And they
Answer
also
number
did
2.
have it,
Write this down.
And they weren't even ready.
So, you're right. They weren't.
So, it was
So we need preparation. Dean is saying, you know what? I mean, the fact, bless you, the fact that the majority of the mitzvot can only be kept in the land of Israel, like Shemitah, right? And Yovel, and all the laws of the Beis HaMikdash, and the many other laws that are only be able to be performed in the land of Israel. The fact that you can't just walk in right after leaving Egypt. It takes time. You've got to prepare. You've got to download the information before we got there. So we walked in with the Torah in our arms. So answer number 1 was that survivors do not depend on the land, which we're going to talk about more. But the other one is preparation. You can't just walk in like, okay, keep the Torah. What Torah? We'll get it soon. No. I need to prep myself. And this is not such a weird idea, because we know that certain laws were given before even Har Sinai. For example, Shabbat was given at Mara, which was a few days before Har Sinai. Why? So that when they got to Har Sinai and received the Torah, they were ready for Shabbat and other laws as well. So we know the idea that God downloaded mitzvot early to prepare us is not so preposterous. It's not so unusual. And here as well, I have to prepare myself, and therefore, this is more like a pragmatic answer. I mean, you can't just walk in to do it, so God prepares us. This one, however, is much more important. And this one is, if you tie together the land and the Torah, you may make a mistake, and it would be a mistake to think, an understandable mistake, and a good mistake to make, that the Torah is only for Israel. But it's not. The Torah is big, and that's why the Torah was given outside of Israel. In how many languages? In 70 languages. Which say the rabbis? Which say the rabbis? Shivim Lashonot. Which say the rabbis means that wherever you are and whatever language you study Torah in, you accept it. By the way, we're the only nation, listen to this amazing idea, it's going to blow you away. We're the only nation in world history ever that did it this way. How do most countries form? People move to a land. Either they conquer it, or they inherit it, right? Or they fight their way in. And they're there, and then they make the laws. They say, oh, we're going to make a constitution. Look at America, right? The British came, and here we are again. They arrived, and they said, okay, we've got to make laws. Right? They didn't make the laws in Britain and schlep them in. I mean, some ideas were formulated outside, but they made the laws. They wrote the Constitution. They signed the Constitution. All the Americans here in the Bill of Rights. It's all here on the land itself. I mean, you've got to work that way. Yeah, you go, okay, we shouldn't kill each other. Okay, write that down. Right? Don't still put that down. So you make the laws. That's always the way it is in every nation in all of history. We, the Jews, typical Jews, do the exact opposite. The laws are written outside, and then they're carried into the land. And what that is saying is that the land of Israel is a means for the Jewish people to strive for perfection. It's not a prerequisite for our existence. We existed as a people before we were given the land of Israel. You are still part of the Jewish nation. It's at this point, one second, I got something in my head, if it doesn't come out now, I forget it. When you reach 44, the same will happen to you, as you'll see. I like to call this, but I used to call it the 3L theory of Judaism. Then it became 4, and then it became 5. Every time I teach this course, someone throws in another L. Actually, and then I mentioned it to a friend of mine, he mentioned a 6th one. I call this is my own thing, by the way, so you don't have to. Right, the three L's. As a people, we have land, that's Israel. We have a language, a common language, which is very important as well. Talk about that, which obviously is Hebrew. We have a law, that's the Torah. I used to leave it like that, until when someone said, well, how about we have love? Okay, throw in a lot if you want to. Right? And then someone said life, you got to have chayim. So okay, fine, life. And then someone said, how about locks? Right? Locks on our bagels. Hello. I mean, that's like part of who we are as a people. I mean, it was getting out of control. Right? And then someone said, you're Rabbi Lawrence, Hadjioff. I was like, fine, put my name here as well. Right, you got it. Right? So it started as the 3L theory, and it'd be like 15 L's. But it's interesting. Those are the main three. Can you live without a language? Are you still a people without a language? Universal languages are important. It's how we communicate. Do most Jews speak Hebrew or read Hebrew? No. Most Jews are not. Are they still part of the Jewish people? Yes. Are you still part of the Jewish people if you don't live in the land?
Yeah.
Are you part of the Jewish people if most of the Jews are outside the land of Israel? Yeah, we were kicked out 2,000 years ago by the Romans. We're still the Jewish people. Are you still a Jewish people without a Torah? No. You see, once you don't have this, okay, and locks, then you're out. Then you're chosam machaneh. Okay, you had a hand up a second ago? Yeah? Yeah?
Oh, yes, I did. So you said that the Jewish people were the only people who did it that way, but I'm pretty sure the Aztecs also did it that way.
They did?
Yeah.
I'm not such an expert in Aztec history. It could well be they wrote a law. Where do they write it outside?
I don't know, but they were not, their homeland / promised land was Mexico.
It was.
They were from.
That's why all the Jews and Israelis are going there to schlep around Mexico and climb up.
National revelation,
Okay.
supposedly, as they claimed, as a magical being appeared to them. Informing
Sounds familiar, except the magical being part.
Yeah, and led them to
Their promised land.
Promised land.
Okay? So maybe the Jews and the Aztecs. But they've gone.
They are gone.
Ain't no Aztecs anymore.
They are gone.
Few ruins.
But they still claim.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Can't you say that they were actually given the land earlier through the promise to Abraham?
Very, very good. We were very good. We were promised the land. We were promised. Absolutely. We said that already. Abraham was promised, and Yitzchak was promised, and Isaac was promised, right? And Yaakov was promised. Everyone was promised the land. That's different actually getting it. Actually, I'll tell you something wild, by the way. They didn't even get the land, did they? Abraham didn't really get the land. He lived in it. It wasn't given to him, though. This is going to be one of the proofs. And Moshe Rabbeinu was promised the land. Did Moshe Rabbeinu get in?
No, but Abraham was promised the land.
He was promised the land, absolutely. But he didn't actually get it. It wasn't the Jewish people's land until we entered at the time of Joshua in 2448. Up to that point, it was not Israel, it was Canaan. That's when we got it. You're right. And the only reason we got into that time was because of that. Any other answers to this question, Torah, given outside of Israel? Yeah.
Could be foreshadowing. I think because Hashem knew that we're not, like, the land itself is far, we're going to be receiving it. But
Wow.
the Torah is kind of like our spine, like in a body. The spine holds us together
Right.
as a nation.
So there are a number of things that Gemara says are very difficult to acquire among the Torah and the land of Israel. That's why living in Israel is not easy.
Exactly. That's like
A lot of challenges come with it. So you're saying it showed the ultimate thing. We'd have to go in and fight our way in order to inherit it.
Well, it's an upkeep. I think, like Rebecca said about the promise with, Aaron, son of Emer, and also Moshe, he was promised. But like Moshe couldn't get in because he hit the rock.
Right.
That's like unconditioned. You have to live up for the land.
You have to earn it. Very nice.
Torahs are-
We mentioned last class as well, the land itself doesn't tolerate bad behavior, specifically sexual immorality. And your kid vomits out its inhabitants. Yeah. Right, comes with responsibility. In other words, it's from outside, you've got to go and you've got to earn it. Let's have a look at Rav Chaim Friedland. He's going to mention exactly what you just said. Very nice. He said, Tachlet is in Mitzrayim. The whole, we're on page 8, no 1. The whole reason we left Egypt, he kabbalah the Torah to receive the Torah. At Eretz Yisrael kablanu, the Torah kli. So Israel is the kli. He's calling the land of Israel a kli, a vessel. What does that mean, a vessel? It's there for a purpose. Right? The vessel itself, as it were, doesn't have any have its own mission. It's there, as we're saying, as a hechatimsa. It's there for a purpose. Israel is a kli l'kayem the Torah, to fulfill the Torah. That's why it was given. Exactly the opposite of what we mentioned last class. Herzl said, right? A safe haven. That's not what it's for. And the Jews weren't always so safe. We probably would have been safer in Uganda. Probably not in Argentina, actually. But maybe Uganda. Ein lanu shum tachlit acher b'Eretz Yisrael milvad zot. That is why we have it. The land of Israel is a vessel that helps us achieve a certain mission. It's there for a purpose. It's not a means in of itself, it's a means to an end. And if you're fulfilling your ends, you get to stay. And if you're not, then you don't need it. It gets taken away. Right? It's like giving a car for your birthday. Okay, for your 18th birthday, your father buys you a Mercedes. No, I didn't get one. You wish. I wish too. I wish my father bought me a Mercedes, right? Alright? Now, that's yours. Do you own it? Do you own it? Yeah, it's yours. It's given to you as a gift. Can that gift be taken away? Yeah. Try speeding 100 miles an hour, and it'll get taken away. Maybe by the police, and they'll mind your phone. So it's a gift. It's a matana, but it's conditional on behavior. It's a gift, and a great gift. There's no greater gift than the land of Israel to the Jewish people. But it's talui on us fulfilling our mission inside it. You abuse the gift gets taken away. It makes sense. He says, Am Yisrael lo kibel et haaretz kederech kol amim. He says the land of Israel is not received like the other nations. Has kukel lepisat ad malot zorach kiyuma pize, just to fulfill and do stuff, to fulfill and live their physical survival. I'm Yisrael nolav midbar. We were born in the desert. And that's a whole different question, right? Why a desert? I mean, there's deserts in Israel. Torah can give in a desert, but in the Negev there wasn't enough. It had to be a desert, and it had to be outside Eretz Yisrael. You needed both factors. At a Torah kibel sham, and we received the Torah there. And there, outside of Israel, we became a kingdom of priests and holy nation. So the Torah itself, as it were, took us into Israel, not the other way around. The Torah took us from outside. It was in the merit of the Torah that we were able to go into Eretz Yisrael. And he said, "La bit yashvam Eretz Yisrael nasu la'am el lehefech." We didn't become a nation by settling together, like most, besides the Aztecs, possibly. Every other nation, they move into a country and they become a nation inside of the land. That's not what we become a nation outside, independent of the land. Right? Am yotam la'am kibla Torah. We received the Torah outside. V'shuv v'meshach 40 shen after 40 years. Not such a midbar of ochlu man, and we ate the man. Right? Lacham mikan kibel kli, and after that we received the Torah with all the miracles outside to fill the Torah inside. So the land of Israel doesn't make us into a nation. The Torah makes us into a nation. The land of Israel helps us fulfill the ultimate reality. And he carries on to say, we say in Aleinu, Shelo asanu kigarasot, God did not make us like that. I mean, we're actually made by God. God even made us into a nation by taking us out of Mitzrayim. We weren't made by man-made rules of getting together. Hashem made us into an Am. Come out of Egypt, boop, Am Yisrael. V'vadi Eretz Yisrael, Hi b'shvelanu, right? He says, for certain, okay, the land of Israel for us, Kli Nifla is an incredible, wondrous Kli instrument, right? Nifla, Lavodas Hashem b'shleimat. The best way to serve Hashem is the land of Israel. That's the best way. You can't dispute that. Right? That's a Jewish theological postulate. Remember the postulates? It was like, I don't know, how many were there? 7 or 8 of them? I don't know. I don't do so good at math. Right? There's certain things that are a given. Like the straight line between 2 points is, the fast way to get there. And if which your Aunt Barbara in the draft of the Bar Mitzvah, which is going to complain. These are certain givens in Jewish life. Yes? This is a given. Eretz Yisrael belongs to the Jewish people. We got that. That was Rashi we started with. It was promised to our ancestors, Abraham and Yaakov. Right? The Torah was given outside, and then we're taken inside with the Torah, because it's the best place to do it. Right? By means of the mitzvah can only be done in the land of Israel, because it's special kedusha. And that is the perfection we receive outside. Yeah.
When it says that, that we're not like other nations, we mean
that they get together in a land that they conquer, and they make laws, and those laws are man-made. Our laws are from God, called the Torah, given outside, and then taken inside. Unique. Ach, wie das Gisa Kiyum Eretz Yisrael in a Mutna B'kach Shiur Eretz Yisrael. And the existence of the Jewish people is not dependent on their being in the land. The Kasher Migarshin, when we get kicked out, first of all, which happened for thousands of years, still the Jewish people. The same God out inside Israel is the same God outside of Israel. It's the same God. We see no difference. Okay. So we see from this, and we'll look at Rav Dessler on this, someone who was born in Europe, moved to England, and then to Eretz Yisrael. And he quotes the Sifri that says, Ein HaTorah K'Torah Eretz Yisrael. Learning Torah outside of Israel is wonderful, a tremendous mitzvah. But you cannot compare learning Torah in Israel to outside of Israel. You cannot compare doing mitzvot in Eretz Yisrael to outside of Israel. Actually, you can't even compare doing Aveirut in Israel to outside of Israel. It's different. It's much harsher. The reactions on both ends of the scale, the good and the bad, are more extreme in the land. Right? And the Gemara says in Bava Batra, Avir Eretz Yisrael machkin. The air in Israel makes you smart. Just breathing in the air. You know when you come off the plane? When I was growing up. You got off the plane in Israel, down some steps onto the tarmac, onto the runway. That for your time, right? Now you have to go through the whole thing, and have to make a big haul, and not just in time for Mashiach, still not big enough. Right? You go straight in. But you come off the plane, and first you get hit with the jet fuel, and then you see the oranges, and that feeling, you come out, yeah, you have to leave the airport. Actually, my flight 4 years ago was turned around because there was mechanical fault, and I had to dump all the gas. We landed on the runway. It's a nice way to get off the plane. All right? Just the air itself hits you, it's different. Now, that could be a metaphorical comment. It could be a metaphysical one, right? But it could be a mashal. Right? That just being there, and you breathe in the air. We said the air, we said, reminds us of the sense of smell. Did we mention that in this class or another class? Okay, maybe not, I don't remember. Okay, anyway, let's see Rav Dessler. Says Rav Dessler, She'oseh b'Torah Yisrael zocha l'siyat dishmaya. If you learn Torah in Israel, you get siyat. That's the reason why all of you, or nearly all of you, went to Israel. If you didn't, God willing, you'll get a chance to study Torah in Israel. There's an extra amount of siyat dishmaya. Extra heavenly assistance. Meruba v'ashpa miuchedet, and a special abundance of assisted spiritual energy that flows down just by learning Eretz Yisrael. It's always been that way. B'doreinu anuroim b'chush ketzat seirim. That's why we see in our generation, young people are developing, right? To oiski b'Torah u'mefchatim b'Eretz Yisrael, right? Hem oilim b'limud matzlichim l'roshesh yediyah b'shas kula. They learn vast amount. Masikim harbe yotem Hashem masikim b'chinach hatorani b'shar asot. It's just the land of Israel was created for that. That's why it's there, to help us reach spiritual perfection. Oh, I don't live there. So what? That's it? I just give up on the whole thing? No. You study where you are, and once in a while you go back to Eretz Yisrael, God willing, and you recharge your batteries. That's the way it works. The spiritual storehouse of the Jewish people, Eretz Yisrael. A whole different way of looking at the land of Israel. And he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mashpia aleinu shefa shel suyum v'kelim. God pours assistance upon us and gives us the resources in order to do this. He goes, you don't want to underestimate its value. And Israel is kadosh. What makes it kadosh? Because it's created for spiritual purposes. Now, we're not just there to study Torah. There's a mitzvah, says the Chasam Sofer, but we're not aware of this one. And he says to build the land, and to cultivate it, and to plant trees, and to make business there, because ain't kamach ain't Torah. So you've got to work there. But that becomes a mitzvah as well. Get up in the morning, getting on the bus, you're all squished in, getting off the bus, and getting a job, right? And getting money, right? To support your family, do mitzvot. So it all becomes kadosh. Because everything that's there to support it becomes holy as well, by definition. Right? That's what it becomes. So just living and working there and planting trees and being involved, that becomes a mitzvah. Says Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, one of my most famous, favorite commentators on the Torah. Rabbi Hirsch lived in Frankfurt on Main in the 1800s. He's become back in style in our generation because he was very passionate about Jewish pride. So I think in our generation, especially Bali Tshuva, right, which is all of us, right, very, very into this. And he says more than that. See, when Jews live in Israel, and we see this is true, you can't miss this. I mean, you can try to avoid it, as many do, but it's true. If you're honest with yourself, Jews in Israel become like a model society, he says. Look at his words. This is in English. Top of page 11. The Jewish nation is to represent agriculture as well as commerce, militarism as well as... By the way, this is all before 1948. Militarism as well as culture and learning. The Jewish people will be a nation of farmers, a nation of businessmen, a nation of soldiers, a nation of science, he says. Thereby as a model nation to establish the truth. What is all this for? To establish the truth that the one great personal and national task which God revealed in his Torah is not dependent on any particular kind of talent or character trait. Oh, Torah, it's only for the geniuses. Oh, that's only for those people. It's like an academic few. No! It's for everyone. Oh, the land of Israel, it's only for those who... Everyone has to be part of this. The whole of humanity, in all of its shades of diversity, can equally find its calling in one common spiritual and moral mission and outlook in life. By the way, he's saying something unbelievable. He's saying, why we give the land of Israel? To go and live there, to cultivate it. You put a tree in, right? You build a house over there. These are mitzvot. Taking the gift that God gave you, it's like someone buys you, I don't know, a house as a gift, right? If it becomes run down, what are you saying? I don't like the gift. It doesn't mean much to me. But if you paint it and keep it up and look after it, right? And fill it with nice things. Now you're doing a lot of things in there. You're eating and sleeping, but all those things become gratitude to the person who gave it to you. Does the house itself, the bricks and mortar, have a purpose? No. They're a vessel for something much greater, living in it. That's Eretz Yisrael. It's the Jewish home of the Jewish people. Yeah? And the Sefer Kuzari, Rav Yehuda Halevi, he wrote a fictional account of a supposedly true story of the Melech HaKazars, the king of the Khazars, who created a debate between a rabbi and imam, a Muslim priest and a Christian, and actually he added a philosopher, which the original supposedly did not have. But he added a Greek philosopher as well. They were discussing the truths of their religion, and whoever won the discussion, the king said he would become part of their nation. Okay? Supposedly there are Azerbaijani Jews who say they are descendants of these original Khazar converts. Anyway, this book is basically a conversation, a dialogue. Very interesting. You can read the English. But in there, he talks about Israel. He says one of the connections, very early on in the book, he says one of the connections that proves that we're the Jewish people and our mission is related to the land. He says, Eretz Hazo, this land, Hanoda Lishrat Kol Olam, was designated as a purpose, right? Kanachla, the Shiftei Bnei Israel, given to the tribes, and given to all the other nations. Why? As inheritance for the Jewish people, to rectify the entire world. The Yeshut Kol Olam. They're meant to look at the Jews in Israel and be like, wow, I want to be like that. I want to grow trees like that. I want to irrigate my fields like that. I want to create a society that takes care of its people like that, as it's meant to. I want to create a military which has a moral, ethical code, which the Israel, no matter what you hear, has more than any other army in the entire world. That thinks before they have to fight. That's there for defense purposes, even the name, not the attack purposes. It's called the IDF. There's a reason why. That's what it's there for. Right? And that's why it says, right? Barachal Elyon Goyim. When the Supreme One gave the nation, he separated the Jewish people, from the rest of the world through borders. The original design of the world was for that reason. And that is why, quote at the bottom, that's why media scrutiny on the land of Israel is so much more than any other nation. Well, you have a million Hutsis, a million Tutsis, whatever. Russians wipe out. One kid is killed accidentally, heaven forbid. And the entire world is... This is the way it is. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's eye, says the Torah, is on the Eretz from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. God has a different relationship to the land of Israel and to those that reside inside it. So that was 3. Number 4, turn over your page 12. There's another reason we're given the land of Israel. What's that? Because the land of Israel has something that no other country has. You can get to know God better there. God's presence is more tangible, more palpable in Eretz Yisrael. Now, as a person who's led probably 25 trips of Jews to Israel, many of them who've never been to Israel before, you see it. Right? Worked for Birth for the past 15 years, I see it. They arrive there, and they get to Eretz Yisrael, they go to the hotel, and they're like, I get it. Sometimes it's the first time they arrive there, sometimes it's the second time. Right? First time could be, culture shock. And they kind of get it. How? Is it a logical thing? Not always. Just, I get it now. The land itself is predisposed to exposing information about God, the Torah, and the Jewish people. It has that ability. It's the air, it's the people, it's the land. It has it. Through the good things that happen there, and from the bad things that happen there. That also speaks of God. Says Rav Dessler. He says, Ma Nivlo is unbelievable, he says. Amazing. We were outside of Eretz Yisrael for 2,000 years of exile. Right? How is it possible in our hearts we still have this love for the land? Let's be honest. Someone comes from China, comes from India, first generation, right? Or from Persia, right? We have people here from Persian families. Your parents came from Persia. How do you feel, right? They love it. Oh, it was so lovely, the lovely fruit and the trees and land. And they tell their kids about it. What do the kids say? Yeah, grandkids. Are they going to know Persian? Are they going to feel the connection to it? Or France? Or Russia? Or Germany? Unlikely Germany. Right? Are the grandkids going to feel the connection? The great-grandkids? After 5th generation, it's done. Okay, maybe National Parade Day, they'll wave a flag. They know what they're doing. They don't remember the land. Now imagine your kids had over 2,000 years. And you can't even revisit. You can't take your grandkids here as well. It's born. It's where he hung out. It's gone. He says, but we, 2,000 years, 2,000, this is unprecedented in world history. Right? The Dalai Lama is trying to figure out how to make his people still connected to China. Right? It's gone. We're kicked out of Tibet. That's it. It's all over. 5th generation, they're all Reformed Buddhists. We're Reformed. We only meditate half an hour. Don't watch TV. Right? They become, Chiloni. I'm being serious. They're trying to figure out how to keep them connected. And for 2,000 years we're outside. We don't relate to that because we were born, the land of Israel was already established. Even me, I was born in 1985. Right? That's 72. Right? We still feel this. It's incredible. He says, Yan ki ein zu etzleinu umat kamo etzalamim. Like the other nations, like, okay, I was in China, right, and now I'm in America, I'm an American. Right? China, okay, yeah, my great-great-great-great-grandmother came. My great-great-grandfather, there was a potato famine in Ireland in the 1800s, and they left, and that's it. Are you Irish? No, my great-grandfather was a cop, right? And the Irish Day Parade, I carry a flag, but that's about it. You're American. 5th generation, forget about it. For us, I'm connected to the land. Oh, I'm American, I'm French, I'm Chinese. That's where I reside. And that's my homeland, and I respect it, and I'm honored to be part of it. But my land is Israel. 2,000 years, that's mind-blowing. It should be that we should forget Shocheach, that the land of Israel is ours. It should be forgotten. Like the other nations, Shegaluz Man, Rav Maratzam, who were kicked out of the lands for a long time. Many nations were kicked out of the lands, and that was it. Forgotten, gone. But it's different. Because our love of our land isn't because of the great trees, isn't because of the wonderful waterfalls, isn't because of the great fields that are all over the place. He says our love is talui b'kedusha. Our love comes from the holiness of the land. That's why it's different. There's beautiful hiking all over the world, there's great waterfalls everywhere, there's nice fruit everywhere. What's our connection? Our love for Israel, he says, is the Kedusha, the holiness. And that felt inside us. Now, you could live there and not feel the Kedusha. But if you do and you leave, then what happens? It's all gone. 5-6 generations, it gets disconnected from your family, which happened to many Russians. Right? 5-6 generations out, they don't feel the Kedusha, unfortunately. They were not their own fault. They lived in a country that didn't permit them to serve and to worship God, and now it's it, in Torah and learn Hebrew. Gone. The Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, Shesham Ba'akadosh Baruch Hu. What is the Kedusha? You feel Hashem there. V'ot Kedusha, the Vukabanu, is stuck inside us. Ki Yerusha, Hi Benafshenu. This is an inheritance in our souls. Me'avinu Avraham, goes all the way back to Avraham Avinu. He says, this is our Yerusha inheritance. Shemasar nafshenu la'amod b'nisyon lech lecha. From the time Avraham Avinu was told to lech lecha, to go into the land, that test represents every test of connecting to the land. Right from the time of Avraham Avinu till today, same thing. And in Eretz Yisrael, the holiest is Yerushalayim. And in Yerushalayim, the holiest is the Har HaBayit. And what's holier than that? Makom HaMikdash. And then Makom HaMikdash, the place of the Kadosh Kedoshim. And that's why the Midrash says that we see there's always going to be, even with the destruction of the temple, which was the home of the Torah in Yerushalayim, even the Romans destroyed it, they destroyed stones. Right? And not all of it. The Midrash tells us that the Kedusha never left the Kotel. The Kotel HaMaravi, the western wall. Okay? That's what the Midrash tells us. Rav Frida gives the same piece. And that's why Yehudi Alev, tell me this, page 13. So in this argument, what did he say? It's very interesting. He said, you Christians and the Muslims, right, you came after Judaism, right? If they're honest, right, and they acknowledge the truth, they don't deny it, they attribute great virtue to this place. Right? They would agree that Eretz Yisrael was where it all started. Right? The Christians would have to agree that. The Muslims would have to agree it. I mean, for the Muslims, it's not the greatest, okay? Right? Mecca, Medina, right? These are holier places for them, but they still rank Israel and Yerushalayim. The Christians, obviously, right? So billions of people around the world will attest and say there's something different and special about this land. Yes, Dina, you know?
Yeah, was the land, when it was like Eretz Canaan, was it also this holy? At what point did it switch over
No,
from being just
no.
the land?
It took in, no. It moved with Torah came in. It took on a status of Kedusha.
The second the Torah came
Yes.
in? And it
With
never-
Joshua, they walked in, and the Kedusha was Chal. And there's actually an interesting dispute. When the temple was destroyed, was it still there? Was it taken away? Right? Can it ever be taken away? Right? Let's say after the first temple, yes. Second temple, it went back and never left. There's different opinions.
I mean, according to this, it never left.
According to this one, never left. That's what we're going with.
Then how did like Moshe and Abraham and Yaakov feel such a connection to the land if it wasn't
Very, very good.
the land then?
They saw it as potential. They knew there was something there. They felt something there. It was a good question. There was something there. Avraham Avinu brought Yitzchak over there. When Yaakov ran away for Lavan, he knew it. It was brought there. It happened in Israel for a reason. These events happened in Israel for a reason. There was a purpose why. And now you understand why Moshe Rabbeinu was so upset. Why did he pray 515 times? Right? He wanted to get in. He wanted to be part of this whole thing. This was very difficult. And by the way, this is one of the proofs. I'm going to jump to the tail end of this course for a second, if you don't mind. This is one of the proofs of Tchias HaMesim. It doesn't make sense they were promised and never given. It has to be, we're going to see Chazal when we finish off the end of this course, a proof to resurrection of the dead, because how can they be promised and won't be actually given the land? Has to be resurrection of the dead. They're going to come back and live in the land. This is one of the proofs of resurrection of the dead. Yeah.
How can Muslims and Christians feel something special about the land if they're not able to tap into that Kedusha?
And the answer is they can. They feel something there. They do tap into it. It's palpable. Actually, we'll see at the end of the course, I keep saying that, but we'll see, actually, the fact that Muslims have a foot in Israel is not coincidence. And the fact they have their hand on Har HaBayit, we'll see, the Ramak, I think, Rav Kudavero, based on the Arizal's teachings, talks about this and says they actually get merit in Olam Hazeh. They get to reside in Israel. Actually, it's an unbelievable piece. I'm going to bring it in for you. It's unbelievable. He's going to say the fact they get it is because they have the merit of senior modesty and brit milah, which they are love and mitzvah oseh. They're not commanded to do, and they still do it. They get rewarded for that. That's only in Olam Hazeh, not in Olam Haba. That's what he says. That's written 500 years ago. I know it's unbelievable. If I wouldn't have read it myself, I wouldn't have believed it.
Wait,
That's
the Muslims
yes,
get
yes.
a part of
They get
Israel.
Olam Hazeh, as in nowadays, they get, it's not a coincidence they got a foothold in Eretz Israel. Why do all these nations want to go to Israel? Are there natural resources over there? I mean, it was a barren land for many, many years. People feel a connection to it.
Okay, I'm very confused. The Muslims get a part of they get Olam Haba because
Olam Hazeh, not Olam Haba. They get merit, and they get reward for their mitzvah in Olam Hazeh, and they get Eretz Yisrael. That's what he says.
Because they do brit milah.
Yep. So Chaim Vital says, I know it's unbelievable. If I wouldn't have read it myself, I would have believed it. I have the original text, I shall bring it in for you.
So, I mean, yeah, so, okay.
Wild,
What about-
right?
What about, like, radical Muslims?
Oh, we're not saying they don't do radical things. We're not saying they misuse it. We're not saying that they don't completely make mistakes, dying for the cause, killing themselves. Yeah. And not the chosen people. We understand that.
Right.
But they still get some merit for what they do in Olam Hazeh.
Okay.
I know. It's mind-blowing. I'll show you inside when we get there.
Okay.
I will do. We'll discuss when we get to Mashiach. Because they're going to be one of the obstacles we're going to have to get through in order to get, because part of the whole messianic realities we're going to see, are you all listening to me? Are you all checked out yet? One of the important parts of the messianic reality when we get there, this is all preparation for that, is that the Jewish people are going to return to the land of Israel. And part of that we're going to see, that's one of the proofs that Mashiach is coming, the fact we're going to Israel. Actually, I'll say something even more. You're ready to have your minds completely... Mashiach can only come when the majority of the Jewish people are in the land of Israel. Because you can only have nevuah, prophecy, when the majority of the Jewish people are in Israel. Actually, I say more than that. A prophet can only prophesy when they're in Israel. There were a couple of exceptions, Jonah and others. But even those exceptions were unusual exceptions, but even they had to receive the prophecy in Israel. They took it outside. The land of Israel is miyuchad for nevuah. And you can only have nevuah, prophecy, when the majority of the Jewish people are in the land of Israel. Take it to the next stage. Who's going to announce the coming of Mashiach? We're going to do this again, but I'll say it now. It's in my head. Eliyahu Navi. Oh! That means prophecy has to return before Mashiach even comes. And we're going to see the prophets to talk about that. And you can only have prophecy when the majority of the Jewish people are in Israel. By the way, where are we holding right now? I think we're at a tipping point, they say. Jews inside and outside. I mean, it took a lot of assimilation, intermarriage to reach this point outside of Israel, unfortunately. But we're at a tipping point right now where you can even see this. We're going to get there. All of this is important to understand the messianic drama that we'll be coming to. It's fascinating, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, can you see we're living history right now? Right now, everything you're seeing around you, we're seeing things our grandparents, our great-grandparents, actually my grandmother actually moved to Israel before 1948, so she saw it, but they lived it.
So wait, why don't we just do like a mass migration?
Oh, says Sarah Jesse James. Then why don't we just all move to Israel and force it? That's a great question. And the Gemara talks about it and actually says you shouldn't do that. That's not the way to bring Mashiach. To come like a home, like a wall inside. It's a mitzvah to go to Israel, but that doesn't bring Mashiach. You could still be in Galut when we'll talk about the 4 Galuses, or the 5th one, which is going to be the Ishmael one, the Arab one later on. You can still be in Israel and still be in Galut. Still be in exile. Like the Greek exile. The whole Hanukkah story. Just being there doesn't guarantee redemption. You can still be in Galut. Exile doesn't mean just kicked out. It can include that, but doesn't necessarily just mean that. But there are things you do to bring Mashiach. And we're going to do a whole class just on that. And there's a list, a checklist. Interestingly, there are more Bein Adam L'Chaveiro than they are anything else. Why that is, we're going to see. Why that is, we're going to see. It's more mitzvah between us that merits bringing Mashiach. I don't want to talk about Mashiach yet. You got me excited. Yes.
Don't worry, it's not about Mashiach. So given all of these sources and all this evidence and all this proof, how come there are from Jews that are against living in the land of Israel and they're like for
Very good question.
Palestine?
Very, very, very good question. Okay. I wasn't going to get into that, but I must mention it right now. No, from what we've seen to these two classes we've done together, and we're going to do one more as well. No one can deny, if you're an observant Jew and you believe in the Torah belongs to the Jewish people, and Eretz Yisrael is our land. No one can deny mitzvot are created for this reason. Are there some people out there who say that we lost our merit to reside, that were kicked out, and we shouldn't take control of it and create a government in there? There are a small cult group, actually maybe the Sabbath Hasidim fit maybe as a large group into that, but they can't deny that Eretz Yisrael is Kadosh. Are they politically insane as far as I'm concerned? This small Torah culture group that gets all this publicity, maybe 70, 100 families, right, who want to hand the keys up? That's insane. I mean, that's just completely crazy, and it's Chil Hashem. No doubt about it. And everything else they do is completely crazy. They say all of our problems come from Israel. They can't say.
How can you be considered a firm Jew if you believe in that and if you don't have that desire to live in the land at all? Like even more so, they're trying to do the opposite.
I hear.
I think they have desire to live in the land, just like they don't think we can right now.
They believe that the way the land was set up, and from this Gemara and Ketubos, that just we walk in there, take control of it, and make a secular government, this they don't believe is the way to do it. That's one thing to hold that. But to say that we have to support our enemies and give our keys to them, right, and that's whacked. Okay? And the Holocaust denial that comes with it for some reason, that's totally crazy. I mean, I ain't got no time for that. Now, if you want to say wait for Mashiach to live in Eretz Yisrael, okay, I don't agree with you. We're seeing history is proving differently to us. You see the flourishing of the Jews in the land of Israel. You know, I had this very cool thing, by the way. It's on this topic. To be honest, if you think of a typical Israeli Jew, Israeli Jewish man, let's say, what's he like? Tall, handsome, good-looking, strong guy. Think a typical, let's talk stereotypes. Stereotypical American Jew, he's like Woody Allen. A little like hypochondriac, right? Complaining, kvetching. Why is that? Why do you think of the Jews in Israel? It's a joke, but I believe this to be very serious. But you think of the Israeli Jew, he's tall, strapping, handsome man. He's got the army uniform on, right? He's doing his avoda, right? We say, and in America, it's like, well, I've got a cold, you know? So I asked one of my teachers this many years ago as a joke, and he said something very, very good. He said, you know, you can have Concord grapes, right? Grapes can grow anywhere, but Concord grapes grow best in this region, Concord. Meaning, if you take a plant and grow it in its natural habitat, it grows much better. It's just what it is. So it's an unbelievable statement, right? So you see it. You mamish see it with your own eyes. Right? Jews out of Israel, I mean, a bunch of puny, you know what I'm saying? And inside of Israel, the land itself cultivates different crops and different people. I mean, that's not good or bad, it just is. There's a schus to being buried in Eretz Yisrael. There's also a schus to die in Eretz Yisrael, and so even a schus to just live there, just to be there. Is it a mitzvah to visit Eretz Yisrael? So there's a machlokes. Some say no. Really, the mitzvah is to perform the mitzvah there, right? Truma, you know, and Maisra, right? And all these things. If you visit and do that, I guess you get the mitzvah as well. Turn over the page. Ooh, we're doing far today. Can we finish this?
Okay, Darian.
Oh my God, we got a lot more to do. Okay, we're finishing off today. Oh, I feel good. Okay, page 14. That's where the Ramban says, Nevuah is only possible in the land of Israel. Again, there were exceptions, but those exceptions had to come with a real purpose. Like Hashem said, get out of the land and go speak to those people in Nineveh or wherever. Says the Ramban, Nevi mikir b'cha v'achicha kamoni, a prophet from your midst for your brethren like me. Right? What is mikir b'cha? What is it from your midst? Leramos is the Ramban. She'ein nevuah ela Eretz Yisrael. Nevuah is only in the land of Israel. But now, this was once we entered into Israel. There was nevuah before outside, the whole nevuah of the Torah and Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest prophet that ever lived, but that was before we actually entered. Once we went in, Eretz Yisrael took over. You with me? So there is nevuah outside, even the greatest prophet, Moshe Rabbeinu. But that was before. Once we went in, the land itself changed, and you can only have nevuah in Eretz Yisrael. This is real nevuah. Not those people walking around the streets of Ben Yehuda like, saying they saw something. Oh, that's probably related, right? It's called Jerusalem syndrome. Anyone had prophecy, only had it inside of Israel or for the sake of Israel, says the Kuzari. Right? Since prophecy is needs the highest level of kedusha in a person, it makes sense that it can only be found in the holiest place in the entire world. All right? It makes sense. As he says, a prophet can, this is Rav Kaplan in Hamburg, a Jewish Thought, classic book. A prophet can therefore only obtain his first revelation in the Holy Land. However, he can later in a vision, even in other lands. That's Rashi. Provided there's absolute necessity for the sake of Israel, for the Jewish people. Even in such case, however, the vision can only be obtained in a secluded place, such as a valley or near a river, right, which is not contaminated by the general populace. In Eretz Yisrael, all of Israel is open. But later on, your first revelation has to be in Israel. If later on you want to get a nevuah, prophecy, right, it could receive, but it had to be in a very open land outside, and that could only be a second, third, fourth, and it had to be a real reason that you received it outside. Moreover, prophecy can only exist in the Holy Land when it is inhabited by the majority of the Israelites in the world. Therefore, when the majority of Israelites refused to return to the Holy Land at the time of Ezra, right, only 30-40% of the Jews went back, right, for the Second Temple, the land ceased to have a special status with respect to prophecy, and prophecy didn't exist anymore. Why did Nevuah not exist anymore? Why were there no more prophets? There weren't enough Jews in Israel. They couldn't get in. However, we're going to see when Mashiach comes, one of the prerequisites of the Mashiach, the Messianic drama, has to be the return of the Jewish people to the land of Israel. And we'll see the Rambam lists it as a proof that he is Mashiach. If he gathers together the Jews from all over the world and brings back to Israel, whether that's the person or the time. We're going to divine, when we get to Mashiach, we'll see there's the time, the Messianic era, Yomot Mashiach, right, before Mashiach comes, and then the Mashiach himself, who's going to come at the end of that, to fulfill his personal mission. There's a time, and then there's the person. We'll get to that, God willing. Okay? Whatever it is, it must involve the land of Israel. It has to, by definition. Okay? Turn over, we'll look at Ezekiel. We're going to revisit these sources when we do Mashiach later. Lekach amar kama Hashem. Therefore, said Ezekiel the prophet, thus says God, I'm going to gather you in, minamim, from the other nations, for all the lands you ought to gather in, you're going to get the land of Israel. That is a key ingredient to Mashiach coming. Before Mashiach even comes, as we said, because you need to have most who follow the equation. You need most Jews in the land. Once you have most Jews, you have prophecy. Once you have prophecy, you have Mashiach. Because Mashiach is going to be a prophet. Second only to whom? Mashiach's prophecy will be second only to whom? Moshe Rabbeinu is correct. Right? That's why, I'm going to jump over this piece, we'll come back to it. That's why we say, at the end of Pesach, we'll see actually the Pesach Seder is divided into two sections. People don't realize this. The first half is all about Mitzrayim. The second half is all about Mashiach. That's actually the way the Haggadah is divided. Most people are not aware of that. But you get it by the end. What does it say? L'shana bat b'Yerushalayim. What are we saying? Next year we should be celebrating Pesach, right? In the Ramada of the Hilton. Sounds nice. That's not what it's saying. It's saying we should all be there with Mashiach. That's what you're actually praying for. Right? Because there's two redemptions. One redemption is the Jewish people from Mitzrayim. The second redemption is the return of the Jewish people to Eretz Yisrael at the time of Mashiach.
Is Mashiach a prophet?
Yes.
He's going to come and...
He is going to be a prophet, absolutely. Actually, we're going to see there are going to be lots of them. The prophet says your wives and husbands and your children are going to prophesy at that time. We're all going to have prophecy. What's up with that? Yeah.
Can you say that Mashiach
I know.
Does she have to be a prophet and a king?
He's got a prophet and a king, and still, because Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy is... Oh, one second, that's very important. What's Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy? The Torah. The Chumshei Torah, Torah's Moshe, that's his prophecy. And therefore, nothing can supersede the Torah. So that we can't touch. Oh, he can beat Isaiah and Jeremiah, right, and Micha. He can beat all of them. But he can't be Moshe Rabbeinu. So that prophecy is La'olam Va'ed. Wow, we did it in 2 classes. I hope we didn't rush too much. We will pick this up, God willing, next class, where we will begin discussing the topic of reincarnation. Have I seen you before?